doesn't work. My legs hurt so bad today. So I don't really have a place to look. My eye always wants to go over here because then I'm looking at me in the camera. But I really need to look over there. Anyway, greetings all. Star Vixen here. Today is normally what does the Vixen say? But I'm replacing a couple of them with different things, and this one is bits of me. And here we are playing with the mask again. And we're just continuing the pet history because I have lots of it. There are way more pets than I remembered after I did the last one than I had said previously. So the vlog is getting out kind of late today because I'm having some issues. Look, my hair is fading and my dogs are knocking things over and we're having a problem here. Okay, so dog, either up or down. Come on, either up or down. Yes, that's fine. You can be in the vlog, but no lickies. No lickies. I don't like it when you lick me. Down, sit down, 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 down. I'm gonna have to get this all out of here. Anyway, I'm having issues on Discord. Somebody's trolling me and pretending to be me. That's all I'm going to say about that because you can message me. We don't want to give them more attention than they're already getting. I am in contact with Discord and having a conversation with them about it. And I will keep you guys all abreasted on that. The worst case scenario is that I have to delete my Discord and restart it again. I doubt that's going to happen because they haven't stolen any personal history. They just copied my skin, per se. Such weird words we have now, right? Hang on. As if I'm going to sit back. No. I'm being kissed by the dog. If I'm going to sit back, I might as well lower that a little bit so you're not getting all that, too. And I'll try to remember to talk louder because the further it is from me, the less it works. Anyway, so one of the most prominent pets in my life was a silver Persian that we had by the name of Puffball. I think he had a huge name, because he came from a breeder. And I'm sure he had like 7 names to him because that's what breeders do. Because they have the sire and the dam. And then they have dame, bitch, whatever you want to call it. They have the sire and the bitch. Then they have the maternal and the paternal. And then sometimes, depending on the breeder, they'll have the one up from that, so you can kind of watch the history of it. I always like Persians. They got that funny little puggy nose, like pugs do. He ended up being an indoor-outdoor cat. He wasn't really like a collector breeding cat. We didn't breed him or anything. We actually couldn't breed him because he was deaf in one ear. And that made him not as popular, but my mom got him from this lady, I guess, that she knew, and she didn't have to pay as much for him, and he got fixed. But Persians are very odd cats, I don't know if anybody's ever had them, but they have a second coat that they get. Most cats do, and most dogs do, and they shed when it gets too warm. But Persians, it's like they get rid of this whole skin of them, like a blanket of stuff. And again, I don't know why the dog is so antsy. She is. She wants to be. They all both want to go to the PARK, which is tomorrow. Their days are off. I find that when spring comes around, they start getting really antsy. Like they want to do whatever it is animals do during springtime. Humans are that way too. I find that right about this time, in the next couple of months or so, people will get busy and start moving around and wanting to do stuff. Sorry about me playing with my hair again, because I'm always doing that, right? Alright, so Puff, he was a blue-eyed silver, so gray with white, and he was supposed to be my mom's cat. Like, my mom got him for her, but he was always in my room. I mean, he let people pet him, but if I needed, I could, that cat. So, the reason I want to talk about Puff is that Puff actually encompasses a very large portion of my time, of my life. I think that we got him, and I can't promise that this is true, okay? I can only go by my memories, but I think I got him around when I was about 7 or 8, because I was still getting dolls for Christmas and birthday. My mom had this thing, and not dolls like Barbies, which I got too, but like baby dolls, which came with their diapers and their bottles, and I had a carriage, and I had a crib, and I had all a changing table, I think, if I remember right. I had all the things that any pretend mommy would want to have for their pretend baby. The thing was, is I didn't play with the baby dolls. I had one baby doll who was had plastic face, plastic hands, plastic feet, and a cloth body. And she would, when you tipped her, her little eyes would close, and she'd go, wah. And I think she said, "Mama," but I'm not positive because I had other dolls too. But I had that doll. It was given to me by my godparents, which was one of them, I think, was my aunt, who gave it to me when I was born. So it had been with me for a very long time. I think I had it till recently too, and then like recently, like 10 years, and then I got rid of it. I gave it to my daughter. I probably gave it to my daughter, and then she probably gave it to somebody else because she was always giving her dolls away to poor children who had no dolls. That was her. That's what she told me anyway. Dolls left and never came back. And she loved dolls. She played with them way more than I ever did. But my mother's idea was that the proper toys for little girls were all the things that little girls would grow up to be big girls would do. I, on the other hand, wanted to do all the things that everyone else was doing. I didn't mind taking care of the babies, and as a child, babies didn't bother me or anything, and I was always taking care of younger cousins and stuff. But when I was 14, when I got my first job, it wasn't babysitting. I didn't do babysitting. That wasn't my thought in life. I did a paper route, which I really had to convince my parents to let me do because normally it was paper boys, not paper girls. And I did that for a couple of months and made good money. Was really happy. And then school came and it got problematic with track. And had track. What was it? I did cross country that year, cross country, and I was in band as well. And then all your studies. So it was doing the newspaper because it was an afternoon newspaper run, and I had to roll the papers and deliver them by a certain time in the afternoon after I'd gotten done with practice. And then when I did in the summer, I didn't have practice. Well, I had cross country practice, but I didn't have anything else. I think I had some band practice too, if I remember right. And then I had to on Wednesday mornings there was a free paper that came out, which was bigger. Okay, so I had to get up really early in the morning. I'm not early riser, never have been. I had to get up really early in the morning. I had to tie the papers, rubber band them, fold them and rubber band them, and then I had to deliver them to all the people who didn't get a newspaper. It was an advertisement thing and a freebie thing they did with the idea of getting people to get the papers. Well, actually, if I remember right, I also had to deliver it to the people who had the papers because that's where the coupons were in. And then I had to collect the money. And I'd collect the money, and a percentage of the money went to, of course, the newspaper, and then I got to keep the money. The problem was is sometimes what I did was I would get all the money from the regulars. I knew it wasn't a problem to get the money from monthly, and then I would get the last of that money that was for me. It would be the ones that were difficult to get. So, because they had dogs or they were never home or things like that. Most of the people I delivered to, though, were pretty cool. They were older people because that's how our neighborhood was set up. It was like a house so the way the neighborhood was set up, and remember, these are very weird memories because it goes from one thing to the next thing. So we will eventually get back to Puff, but Puffball. But so like there was a house here. It was 4 houses on the main street that came in, and then it came back in from the big street, the avenue. We lived off of an avenue near the highway, so freeway. And then, so what it was is a block was 4 houses on one side, and then the longer side had like 8 or 9, and then 4 the other side, and then this way. And there was a field for a long time. If you were in my backyard facing northeast, there was this empty lot for a long time, and then when I was in high school, they built houses on there. Anyway, so it was all the houses pretty much sat on about a fourth of an acre, so there was a lot of land in the back, big huge backyards. Um, and so the whole area was that I'd, like it would go of the four houses that were on that one thing, the house I was in, and then the house right next to us was a grandparent thing. So they had kids, but there were no kids on the other two houses except again like grandparents. And then on the side, it would go. If I remember, there was no kids on that side, but across the street from us, there was a couple of houses that had kids. And then down the street, there was some duplexes, and there were kids in that one. And then further down, there were more duplexes. But for the most part, it was older people that lived there. Um, all the neighbors that were older people, they were good for trick or treating and birthdays and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was older people. I've got an itch. I'm sorry. I try not to do that, but it happens, and my body's kind of itchy today. I've been in the midst of a fibro attack, which really is bothersome also because it feels like the flu, and the flu is not a good thing to have right now. Anyway, so to go backwards about I was talking about Puff. So I had Puff. We got Puff. Probably, really, what it was is we were talking about how my mother loved dolls. My mother loved dolls. I couldn't tell you. I had bottles and diapers and all kinds of stuff. What I did though was I took my cat Puff, my mom's cat, and I dressed him up in the baby dolls since he was a kitten. Sticked him in the baby carriage, took him outside for walks and things. I'd hold him in my arm like he was a baby and feed him and talk to him. When I got done playing with dolls, him and I would listen to music together. He'd lay in the grass in our backyard. Spring, summertime is one of my favorite times because I remember as a child, after the rains would come, the grass would be so high, like it's doing in our backyard right now. The grass would be so high that you could go out and lay down in the grass and it would completely cover you. And Puff would do his little creepy kitty cat thing that cats do, the do, 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 do. And I'd lay down and he'd creep up to me, and when I was just close enough you could almost see him, he'd go straight up in the air and poof, down in front of me. So we were nose to nose. So it was kind of like kitty cat hide and seek. We play a lot of kitty cat hide and seek. I'd lay out there as daylight savings would come and it'd get darker longer, and we were allowed to stay out, because no school. We were allowed to stay out longer and longer so we could lay outside and look at the stars and stuff. And him and I would sit there nose to nose, and I would talk to him. I would tell him about my days and my stuff that was going on. Part of the reason was because when I would talk to my mother about those things, she had a very hard time with the idea of people bullying me. I don't remember when I started telling her that people were bullying me because they bullied me from kindergarten on. I was bullied. Most of the time in kindergarten, I kind of rolled with the punches. It was, that's kind of what I was told is, that's how kids are. It's okay. Just deal with it. Well, as it didn't go away for second, third. By third and fourth grade, it was becoming so depressing for me that coming home and trying to talk to my mother was even more depressing. So the cat got all the information, and a lot of it wasn't like everyday stuff, so it was even harder because it was like one day everybody would be liking me and I get to play games and it'd be all good, and then the next day, or 2 days down the road or a week later, I was the worst thing in the world and I was ostracized and no one would play games with me, and they'd say mean things to me. They'd trip me, pinch me, poke me, and I had learned that if I told the teachers about it, even if the teachers saw it, it was always, oh, that's just how kids are. You gotta learn to toughen up your skin. You gotta learn to do this. We now know that's not the case. I mean, you have to get a little bit of toughness to the world, yes. But you should not, as a child, be subject. And if you are, you need to keep telling people you should not be subject to people hurting you. There was another young man who I went to school with, who people were very horribly mean to all the time. They said, called him ugly, did all kind of like me too. But he'd fight back, and he'd be in the principal's office way more times than the bullies would be in, and eventually he was labeled as, just a violent child. When I just don't think he was overly violent. I just think that he was told probably at home, you got to stick up to it, you got to stand up to it. So he did, but because they bullied him so much that he was fighting all the time. And I think that, there was a period of time I did that in high school because I wasn't allowed to fight. I was a girl. My mom told me, girls don't fight. That's not what girls don't do that kind of stuff. There's no need for girls to fight. They find somebody to fight for them. I once had this argument with my mother. I said, if I'm not liked by anybody, how am I supposed to find somebody to fight for me? And then, because my mother was so helpless at it, I don't think she meant to be mean to me. But as a child, all I saw was a person who was not able to help me. My concept of adults were that they believed the lies they were told, and they told lies as well. And so the world was full of lies. It wasn't full of truths. It was full of lies. Everything was a lie. That's how I grew up. It was all lie. If the people closest to you can't tell you the truth, and they're telling you lies, for various other things, and then when you try to communicate to them, it's all about lies. And so it got to be where my mother would always say, well, you must have done something to him. So I was always being blamed for the things that were occurring to me. So then I started making things, I started fighting back, which then more things happened to me. But at least then I felt like I had some control of it because I was the one who was responding to it and taking it into my own hands. Even if I wasn't getting back what was important, like I wasn't getting it solved. It wasn't being solved. There was no way protecting me. There wasn't anything. And that kind of made a core belief in me that the most important person is a person who can stand by you. They don't have to say you're right. Okay, I'm not saying that. But they have to be able to be there to support you through things. And you have to be open enough for them to say, well, maybe you're wrong. And it's okay if they say they're wrong. For me, it's okay. I don't know for other people. For me, it's okay if they say, I don't know if I agree with you, but I hear you. And yeah, they shouldn't be treating you that way, even if I wouldn't want my kids to say to me that I was absolutely right if I was the one who started the problem. I don't want them to say I was absolutely right either if I was the one who retaliated and I did it in a way that I know is wrong. I want them to be able to tell me that that's not good. But on the same token, I like them to be there. And they are. My children do that for me. They support me. They say, Mom, maybe you're not dealing with this in the right way, but we're here. But my mother could never do that. My mother was it was all very black and white, my mother. It was either I was doing it or they were doing it. But since she couldn't prove they were doing it and she didn't understand why they were doing it, it had to be something I was doing. And so I would say, well, okay, Mom, you won't let me dress in the clothes that all the kids are thing. My mom wanted me to be such a girly girl. She put me in frilly little dresses. I can't remember all the dresses I had. I had dresses with polka dots and stripes, and I would fight against her constantly. That was one of the biggest problems my mother and I had was I'd wear mismatched socks on purpose. My mother would sew little X's in my socks, all my little white socks that went with my Mary Janes. She'd sew little X's so I'd know which ones went with which. I don't know with white socks why it would matter, but it mattered to my mother that I would wear mismatched socks, like because one would be too long or one would be, because I just put the damn freaking socks on. I liked Mary Janes. They were one of my favorite shoes, but I'd wear them with pants, just as much as wear. I just thought they were very pretty, cute shoes. And I like things that are pretty and cute and sparkly. That's the raven in me, I like those things. My mother kept my hair short because she didn't want to take care of it. And she always told everybody it was because I didn't take care of it. But since it was always short, I never could take care of it. And so I'd be picked on that because even though Dorothy Bobs were popular, if you didn't look good in them, it didn't really matter. And sometimes the hair would be really, really short, like, I don't know, Page Boyce short. Like Twiggy short, I think, is what I was thinking. I was thinking Twiggy, where it's really short on the side and then kind of has a David Bowie look to it. But I don't think it would have mattered really how I was dressed, how anything about me would have changed how people treated me. But then I was also subject to issues with my teeth. I was very, very skinny child, like stick skinny, you know. Um, I was very, very sensitive. I am still a very sensitive person, but I'm a little, I can, if I start crying, y'all need to run away because crying is where I've hit my wall and I'm so irritated that all I want to do is kill you, literally. When I get that mad, the way I deal with it is I imagine you guys in that tunnel, whoever's making me angry or whatever's making me angry, I imagine them in that tunnel in Resident Evil 1, the movie, when they're trying to get to the Red Queen, you know, those laser pieces. I imagine that. I imagine that someone's standing there and they're lasered into human cubes. And then I put them into a blender and they until they're a red slush, which I know wouldn't happen because they have bones and whatever. And then I pour them down the drain. That's how I deal with when I get to that point. If I get to that point and I'm envisioning that with you, I am probably not dealing with you ever again. Because that means the trigger has been hit. Before that, though, before Resident Evil, I used to imagine people that were mean to me. I used to imagine me growing up, becoming extremely rich, and then coming back and destroying them. You know? Which is funny because I don't really hold a grudge in that aspect. I just communicate with people. I just don't want them around me if they're going to make me feel like that. Because I just don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's healthy to be that angry at people all the time. And I've had a lot of people do a lot of things to me that have made me feel that bad. But, so this is the end of this one. We'll come back to talking about the time period when I had Puff. I also had another pet at that time, a dog, a little white Spritz dog called Penny. But Penny was my dad's dog, and Puff was my mom's cat, and then that was pretty much it. I mean, I had various other pets, which we'll talk about, because I always got in trouble for having pets. Anyway, so that's it. That's the end of this one. Next week is a topic one. The new name for that is called Brain Food. I'm not sure what's on schedule for Brain Food, but those are those things where I just think about things and we talk about them. I talk about them. You guys can talk about them in the comments down below if you want, or Twitter me, of course. Anyway, I will catch you all on the flip side. I'm out of here. Peace. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, someone asked me, what do I look like under the mask? I am ugly under the mask, just so y'all know. Ugly, ugly, ugly. So that should stop that, you know. Prettiest thing about me is my hair. My hair is my prettiest thing. All right.